We're live. We got it. Paul, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Javier. I appreciate it. I feel very honored. Seriously, I do.
No, dude.
You know?
It's one of those things where podcasting, like actually podcasting is hard because it's like I try to stay as authentic as possible, but you do have to put on like a little bit of a show, just like a little bit.
Yeah, turn it up like 20% is what they say usually.
It's 20%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
But yeah, so this is pretty cool. We've come a long way since we've met.
Mm-hmm. Which was what, 5 months ago, 4 months ago?
It was like
we met in a coffee shop. Summit Coffee.
Yeah.
On East.
What was it?
In Myers
Thousand
Park.
Hills? No, it wasn't Thousand Hills. It was
What, the coffee shop?
Mhm.
Summit.
Oh, yeah. That was pretty cool.
Yep.
And then it just snowballed.
grew from there.
It just
Yeah.
snowballed, and now
It's
we're
funny
here.
how connections get you to places where you are, right?
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
we
yeah.
were talking about this the other day.
Yeah.
It's when you think about, like, you know, as you get older, you know, there's certain people you associate with, and then as you get older, you start to connect with different people and certain commonalities, and then those things grow and those people grow by other connections that you have. Like, we met through a friend of mine
Yeah.
that you knew, but you met him through somebody else I know.
Yeah. Through a networking event. Yeah.
You know, I've met all my business partners through other people.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. That's like one of the biggest things I was thinking about, like moving down to Charlotte. Like, I remember moving and being like, okay, I need to reach out to like 45,000 people and see if one of them can stick. So like literally like right before I moved, I hit like, I don't know, probably 100 people just through LinkedIn and just talking with them and just being like, hey, like we could do this. I probably got one person to actually go through. And then that led to meeting someone else, that led to meeting you and stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, dude, that connection thing is real. And I think, especially in like the business entrepreneur world, like people get it twisted. Like it's like leads, like you're always trying to sell someone, but really at the end of the day, it's just like just talking to people and starting that conversation.
Well, let's find commonalities, right? Like you don't want to be around people you have nothing in common with.
Yeah.
And I think that's the toughest people, like the toughest thing for people that stay in their hometowns in a small area and things like that is you're used to the people that you know, right? You're used to, like, you grew up with these people. So it's like, well, they're my friends. It's like, they could still be your friends. But I think the thing that social media has done for me is just open my eyes to so many different people and different community out there that you would have never thought was out there.
Right.
You know? Like, I think we've talked about this. Is like, there's times that I thought I was crazy. I literally thought I was insane because I'm like, well, wait, all the people my age are thinking about things this way. And I'm looking at this, and this. And like, I stopped going out, you know. I was staying home on a Saturday night, and I literally lived with a great friend of mine. So all my friends would come over, we would hang out, they'd go out, and then I would hang out, and they'd come back, you know. And the nice thing is I got to hang out with my friends still, but I woke up not hungover, which was really nice. And so I was able to kind of start to, you know, achieve my goals and go after them. And I think that's, you know, when I think about connections and things like that, it's like sometimes people will hold you back and other times people will push you forward.
Yeah. I mean, I've thought about that recently. We've talked off camera tons of times about this subject of just like, you know, you're the sum of the 5 people you surround yourself with, right? And like, that's the biggest thing, like coming here where I realize like I'm hanging out with a lot of people who are a little bit older than me, and I'm kind of running with that kind of crew of just like business owners, you know, high achievers and stuff like that. And that's no shade at like people that aren't in that group, but personally in my life, like that's where I'm at. And like I've noticed the effect it's had on me where I'm thinking about things I don't think I would be thinking about if I was doing otherwise. Let's say like I was in college and stuff like that. I'd probably be worried about, you know, like who won the national championship last night, which I found out this morning. I'm like, okay, cool, Florida won, cool. I don't really care that much, you know what I'm saying?
You have no tie to them.
Yeah. The only thing I have tied to is like Panthers. Like the Panthers is like the biggest thing that I do. But it's interesting though, because like you think about it, all this time passes by, then you finally get to a point, and then you kind of check in with yourself, and you're like, wow, like I've built a lot around me, and I'm here. Have you had that point recently? Like, I know there's been a lot of things going on in your personal life, but like,
that's a whole separate podcast.
Yeah. But like, I guess the question I'm asking
what not to
is
do
like,
when you're dating.
I'm weak. It's like it's checking in with yourself and giving yourself that grace of like, okay, like you said it like right before we started. It's just like I asked for this, and now it's kind of happening. What is that check-in like for yourself?
Yeah, so it comes from, you know, when you ask like when I realized it or when, because I'm nowhere near where I want to be.
Sure.
You know, I'll take a couple steps back. When I was like 18, right, didn't really know what college I wanted to go to. Knew I had to go to college, but I didn't really know. and I ended up going to community college, which, you know, when I look back, I think was still the best thing for me because I was extremely immature. I mean, I'm 39 right now, and I wouldn't consider myself the most mature person in the world. But I think that, you know, helps me in a lot of aspects. But to your question is, there's all these things I was doing for the past 10, 15 years that I was trying to get to a certain point, but I didn't know what that looked like. I think that was the toughest thing. And you don't have to have a painted picture of like, oh, this is what it's going to look like in 10 or 5 years. Like, my thing was, I'm going to make $1 million before I'm 30. Just spoiler alert, didn't do that. But that's when I also realized too, it's like, you shouldn't have a financial goal. Like, you should into a certain aspect, but I think there's another thing that I just, until probably in the past few years, didn't grasp the concept of. And I think that was the thing that I never understood, even like listening to all these entrepreneurs and reading these business books and stuff like that. There's the why behind it, right? Simon Sinek has this whole, it's I think the most viewed YouTube video or TED Talk ever. Start with your why. Great guy. But, you know, and I understood that in a lot of people's whys are all, it could be whatever, you know, but it's what keeps motivating you. And then I started to realize, I think I started to understand myself more as I got over 30. But part of that is because I decided to move. I got out of my comfort zone because I just knew, like, this isn't the place. And it's nothing against that place. It was just, I knew that I could do more than what I had saw people doing, and I needed to be around people that could push me.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt about like moving to Charlotte. It's like, I love Norfolk and Virginia, like where I'm from and stuff like that, but I felt like I hit a ceiling after, you know, the year that I'd kind of dove into the business. And I was coming to Charlotte over and over again, and every time I would come here, I would just feel this energy, and I just felt this pull. I was like, okay, I know if I come here, not only do I get put in like a really uncomfortable situation, living by myself, having to pay rent, all these bills, but it would push me to actually, you know, break that threshold of where I was of like comfortable. You know, it was easy staying at my mom's house and my dad's house, just being by myself and, you know, not paying rent. It was easy doing this. But that's the thing. It's like putting myself in this situation where it's like I have to work and some, I think really brought out like a big something inside of me that I knew I had, but for some reason in that environment where I was at, I couldn't do it. Like, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was just me, but I think like the environment itself is a big portion of like what makes you. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, 100%. And I think to your point is it's extremely hard, and I give people grace with that a lot of the time. And I think that's where people need to not be hard on themselves. It's like, oh, it's so hard to change. It's like, yeah, you need to change your environment before you can change yourself. Seriously, that's if you don't do that, you are like just trying to change a habit alone. Like, say you decided, like, you know what, my new habit is getting up and, I don't know, going for a walk. The first day it might be easy because that's what your thought was. The second day, is it easy? Probably not, until you ingrain that into you. But when you have constant forces pushing back on you, so now you have the whole one, you're trying to learn a new habit, and then you also have life pushing against you. You know, could be people that you live with, it could be that obligations for work or whatever it is. There's always going to be these things thrown at you. So I always tell people is put yourself in a position or an environment that can help you succeed, because that's the number one thing. Take out all of those other things that are going to push back. Make it as easy as possible, because there's a better chance you're going to do it.
Yeah, one of the things I've been thinking about, like even like with this podcast. So the podcast itself, like kind of just started of me like talking about entrepreneurship, like the reality of it. And we've had this conversation plenty of times of just like it's not pretty. So
None of it is.
I want to touch on that for a little bit and then shift us into a conversation, because like there's like like I'm 22, you're 39, so I don't know how long that is, but there's a pretty 17-year gap between us. So I think there's a lot of wisdom.
We have a high schooler between us.
A high school. That's actually crazy to think about. But I want to talk about the entrepreneurship thing, and then I want to switch to the life thing, because I think the direction where I want to take this podcast is like, I don't know. Like I'm still figuring it out. Like it's episode 13, I think. And I think there's a lot of conversations that I'm having with different people that I'm learning at 22, all these different things that perhaps other 22, 21-year-olds, whatever, like may not get that opportunity. So I almost want to share that, because it's helped my life a lot, but also just want to give them like a peek into the real estate world, a peek into whatever it is, you know, who I'm talking to, you know, across from me. So let's talk about the entrepreneur thing. So like you've been an entrepreneur for a long time now. You quit your job. You had the whole story, right? You had a great job, decent amount of money coming in, and you're like, you know what? This is not for me. You jumped. Now, from that jump point, at what point, if there's a point, did you kind of look around and go like, okay, like this is success? Like, have you had that moment yet?
Very recently.
Oh, really?
Honestly, yeah. And I don't equate it to a specific dollar.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of a moot point to a certain point. What I equated it to is, are leads coming in consistently? Is my branding working? Are people coming to me? Like, am I attracting people, the right people?
Yeah.
And it not until very recently, this 2025, I will say, is when I really, and it was probably over the past month and a half that I cognizantly, if that's the word, realized it's working. And it just gave me a new like appreciation for it. There was a point, I'm not gonna lie, that over the past few years that I was really, you as an entrepreneur, you go through this, like, is this the right thing? Am I focusing my right energy? Because I think the thing that people don't realize, if you go from a corporate job or a job that you work for somebody, you're told what to do consistently, you know what to do. When you become an entrepreneur, you know it's up to you.
Right.
And you can spend your time a lot of different ways. And if you don't understand how to focus it in the right ways, you can feel very lost for a while. Yeah. And listen, you're going to feel lost the whole time as an entrepreneur because you're still testing stuff. But back to your question, it was till very recently I felt like that, oh, this is working. Like, we're onto something.
So it's like, it's the consistency of flow. It's what it sounds like. Is that you look around and you're like, all right, cool. Like, this is continuing to happen. It's not me having to fight for, like, you're not in survival mode, you're not reacting. It's just kind of flowing.
Yeah. It changes your mindset in what you look at to do and like how you start to plan for things. Yeah. So now my mind is, okay, cool. I know what's in the future now. Right. I know where we're at. Okay, what is 3 months from now? Right. What do we put in place? And I think that's stuff we've talked about with Blue Wave and lots of other ventures and stuff. And but the other thing is focus. Discipline and focus have not been my strong suit over the past 4 or 5 years. And we've talked about that, right? Something I learned from a mentor very recently. I mean, I knew this stuff, but you hear it from someone successful, it makes sense. He said, you need to understand that paying now for support is going to serve you in the long term. And it's tough. And I will say this for anybody as a new entrepreneur, like, that's not the right answer right away. Yeah. But it's understanding of what's your highest and best use and figure out how to fill in the other holes. Yeah. Because it's not that you can't do everything. You can, but it takes a lot of your energy away. And I think that's the thing that was tough for me, because I was always like, I'm going to get up, I'm going to work out, I'm going to do these things. And then you start to realize, like, I can't be this energetic throughout the whole day. There's things that wear me down. Yeah, it's funny. We have, like, that 3 a.m. motivation hit. Like, everyone has, like, I'm pretty sure it's just like, all right, I'm going to wake up tomorrow, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I wonder where that comes from. It's just like, why is it at, like, late at night do people, like, feel that? And then when it gets to the moment of doing it, do we get stuck and not do it? Like, is it the pain? Like, I don't know. I think, well, to your point about the 3 a.m. thing, it's because nothing else is going on. You actually have time for your brain to slow down. Yeah. You're not worried about someone calling you or any of that stuff. Like, that's not on your mind. Exactly. It's very stillness. That's why, a lot of high achievers are very early morning people, because it's stillness in the morning. They get up 3, 4 in the morning. They don't have to worry about distractions. No one's calling them. They can focus on what they're trying to do. And I think to your point about when you wake up in the morning and then it's 10 a.m. and you start to, like, kind of flutter or whatever, is because now I do this still. It's just times there's like, I know I have a schedule. And I know what I need to do, but there is the things that creep into your mind and, like, should I be doing this instead? And you don't know that until you get down your process and understand that. And it's different for everybody. Some people are wake up in the morning and start work right away. Other people are like, wake up in the morning, I go work out, I meditate, I do a lot of different wellness stuff, and then now I'm ready for the day. Dude, it's almost weird because it's like it's almost like overwhelming. Because like you like, it's funny, I've been doing this thing recently. So back when I started JMC, so in my room, I had like a big bed frame, then I had my desk with like my computer and all that stuff. And I took my bed frame out and I just had my mattress in the room. And then I moved my desk to where my bed frame was, so I can have more space to like work and like walk around at a bed, like bookshelf. And like that process of just being like sleeping on the ground with the mattress on the ground, like something about that kind of like grounded me where it broke that pattern that I had. So fast forward to like now, that was almost 2.5 years ago, I did that same thing again. So like I had like a little mattress from a cot and I have it in my office now. I'm like sleeping in my office on the ground. And the reason that I did that is because like, you live a certain life, you live a certain type of routine every day, and like all of a sudden like this big wave of stuff just starts happening. But I broke this pattern, and there's a point to this. I broke this pattern, and now I'm like waking up on the ground. I'm going like, whoa, like this is different. But it's giving me like this new fresh reality of just being like, all right, cool.
I can see what my daily routine is like, but now I can almost like plug and play different things that I want to do. So I can wake up, go make coffee, have that brewing, take a shower once it's done brewing, brush my teeth, get ready to go, sit down with the coffee, look at my day from the computer, go outside for like 10 minutes or something like that. So that's what I'm starting to do recently. And I wonder, like, in this gap between us, so 17 years, like, how important do you think starting something like that at 22 is? Do you think is it
immeasurable?
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Honestly, I mean, when I was 22, I was not treating my life the right way. You know, I was focusing on, friends and I was still like, I was going to school. I was actually working, was 22. So I was working at Best Buy full time.
Yeah.
And I had just finished my undergrad and I was going for my master's. So
Gotcha.
I would work 9 to 5 and then I would go to school 6 to 9. And then I would go out and hang out with friends, and that was my life, right? And I thought, all right, this is going to get me there.
Yeah.
But I think if I really looked back, I wouldn't change anything also.
100%.
I wouldn't change anything. But I would tell you I'd probably be a lot different place in my life if I had the mentality you had at that age. And I think that's something that people don't understand is like, it's not easy. And like, some people are born with it, other people learn it. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's something you continually work on. I mean, I have a morning routine that I have done for the past 4 or 5 years. It's evolved, adjusted. Yeah. But I've realized, like, perfect example when you talk about like routines and things like that. Yesterday, I'm doing 30 hard. I know there's 75 hard. Yeah. I that's great for people, but I'm a 30-day person. Let's see, because my purpose of that is to, what can I take out of this and implement into my life consistently? Because listen, that's not a real life. 75 hard is not a real life. It's 75 days that you focused on it, and it teaches you discipline. Right. What out of those things are you going to take and implement in your life? So yesterday, I failed completely. I went through when I was sitting down on my couch when I got back from dinner with a friend and realized I didn't do any of those tasks. None of them.
Be like that.
Like, didn't hit any of them. Yeah. The old Paul would have beat himself up and be like, what are you doing?
Right, yeah.
You don't...
You suck, dude.
You suck. Yeah. I'm like, my internal conversations with myself are very mean.
Yeah, I felt that.
It's funny because I feel like I'm a very kind person, but I'm, not nice to myself because I have a certain standard for myself. Right. But yesterday I sat down and I saw it and I was like, it is what it is.
It happens.
And the reason I felt that way is because I still felt like I had a successful day. When I went through everything, I checked off the list of things of like, I had a good dinner with a friend, / past client that we just had a great conversation. Yeah. Filled my cup, right? Right. Some other things that happened in my personal life recently that, kind of made me think about some different stuff. Yeah. And I realized that, like, as long as I am doing certain things consistently, it doesn't have to be every day. Yeah. Like, it's got to be more consistently. Right. So, like, one of the things on there is I like to do yoga. I'm not like some yogi. Yeah. But, like, my goal is to try to do it every day at home. Yeah. Well, yesterday I didn't. Well, I stretched a little bit, and I said, you know what? This is still a win. It's not that I can't do it tomorrow. And so I think when I looked back at it, I was just grateful for the opportunities I had throughout the day. Yeah. 23-year-old Paul would not have thought that way. Right? The mentality that I had at that point was more of like, not resentment. There's no resentment. It was just always pushing myself and never felt like it was good enough.
Dude, yeah, I feel like, this is aside from the entrepreneurship thing. I think that's just, a pretty open thing that people have nowadays just because of the comparison problem, with social media and just being like, oh, I could do
Comparison is the thief of joy.
There we go. That's like one of my favorite quotes ever. And that's something that I've been working on too, because like I'm the same way where if I don't do certain things, if I don't execute certain things, I'm like, oh, dude, like what the heck? Like you suck. Like you say you're this person. You say you're this entrepreneur. You say you're this high true, blah, 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 blah. And the whole sheet's just like, rah. But something I realized, I'm just like, that is just you looking in the mirror in your past self. So I'm a big believer in like when you go through different stages of life, the past version of you no longer exists, right? And I'm like, I remember like 2 years ago I was in Florida. I maybe have to do the story, but I was in Florida with my girlfriend at the time, and I was looking in the horizon. I got this vision. I was like, oh, I could be an entrepreneur, blah, blah, blah. And then that was the moment where I realized that like, oh, the life that I'd built, the 19 years, 20 years, whatever it is, to that point was no longer the life that I wanted to live. And like the last 2.5 years have been me like kind of reconstructing myself, and kind of like you, like not until like recently have I felt like I've fully stepped into that version of myself, and that like negative talk I've kind of like killed, where like I hear it and I'm like, like whatever, bro. Like it is what it is. Like, I know I'm working. Like, I've seen myself show up to shoots that I don't want to be at, to like meetings I don't want to be at, to all these different things that like you do. But like, I think showing up is where a lot of that confidence comes from. And that's something I'm learning now, which is like, I don't know, man. It's weird. It's weird.
It is, and I think we talk about this perception's reality. And to your point, is comparison is the thief of joy. Social media does not help anyone.
No.
And everybody puts on like the perfection for it.
I know.
And I think that's the toughest thing. And I do appreciate when people show the losses because it shows like they're a real person. And I think that's the people that do the best on social media that I appreciate is the people that are showing the wins and losses and showing the real life thing. I mean, I posted, I think about this, the post I made for March.
Oh, yeah.
Was just, recap of March. But, my point to it, I put stuff in there that I was just like the behind the scenes stuff. Like things that you're not going to see. Yeah. But there's still not everything in there. Like 100%. You can watch that, you don't know me. And I mean that in the kindest way. But like you're seeing a very small snapshot of 18 photos that I shared with you over a 30-day period. That's not even one photo a day.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, it's a hard thing, man. And like in the business that we're in, like it's hard because I tell you this all the time. Like it's so hard to want to be so authentic, but like you can only be so authentic online because authenticity doesn't sell, which is like very like double-edged sword. Because like to an extent it does, but like I don't know, like seeing it doesn't. Like there's a certain like vehicle for stuff to communicate. Like I think the more like if we were to do more of these podcasts, like people will start to see it. Like it's not like these small snippets, people won't be able to see it, but like. I don't know. I don't want to become like the you should do it guy. Like I don't want to be the provide value guy, like or whatever. That's not what I want. I just like I think we've had this analogy. Like I want someone to kind of like tune in and just see the conversation, and that's just the ongoing conversations. Like right now, like conversation for us is like we're building Blue Wave, which I think like that's a pretty cool venture. And like for those that are watching, like this is Paul. I've probably talked to you guys about Paul a couple times, but him. And our other co-owner, Caleb, he's not here right now because he's busy doing stuff.
Yep.
He's always doing stuff. But I became part of Blue Wave, like, 2 weeks ago?
Yep.
Now,
officially 2 weeks ago, yeah. Per the Secretary of State. Yeah.
Per the
You've been with it for a while, but per the Secretary of State.
Yeah, officially.
Yeah.
But I think that's really cool because, like, there's this idea of newness. There's this building aspect that a lot of people are probably start tuning into because that's what I kind of want to start talking about too, like on my profile. Like I posted something on my personal Instagram that was like, hey, like I got some big news coming. Like this is like the big news. Because like from the outwards perspective, when someone says, hey, I become a part of a new company, it's not like a small thing. Like to us, it's just like, hey, you signed this document and like now you're here.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's like, But when I tell you someone like, oh, I'm a part of a company, it's like, whoa, like
it's a big deal for a lot of people. Yeah.
So I think that's what I kind of want to start doing, dude. Like just documenting the process and then just seeing it grow, but like having like that mix of like authenticity, but also a little bit of ego. We talked about this, I think 2 days ago, whenever you called me, and it's like, I think we could do that like some way, shape or form. I don't know how we go about that.
And I don't know if I said this to you on the phone, but it when I think about that is like, you're right. It's to be authentic 100%.
Yeah.
Right. People probably wouldn't watch it.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is because people like, if we were talking about this on the phone the other day, is these day in the life stuff that people do. Yeah. I love them. I am so intrigued by them. But I've watched people shoot them and they don't look fun.
No,
like it's like that technically is a day in your life, but you have to set up the camera, then you have to re-walk past it.
You butter it up just a little bit.
Exactly, because you want to make sure that people don't have to work to view it, right? Yeah. So I call it curated authenticity.
Yeah, there's we go. Yeah,
right? So curated authenticity. So it's authentic in the aspect of this is what's going on, but you're curating it so the viewer can have it easier to understand and watch. And they can digest it better, right? They're going to associate it with better. If you're showing every little detail, they're going to do
it's just like, oh, it's boring. Because like people don't realize like they're doing it too. Like our lives aren't that different. Like when you look at it from a base standpoint, it's very like the fundamentals are there, right? But I was thinking about it too, like so kind of the analogy that you use, it's like a song, right? These artists, they write these songs and you feel these feelings, but like that's not like the entire picture. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a big Bad Bunny fan. All these songs come through. I'm like, oh, I feel this, but that's probably not even what he's like intending it. It's just like your perception of it, which goes back to our point. Perception is reality. So even for Blue, like I wonder if like doing like B-roll stuff and like getting like the idea of it. So like if we're probably, I'm gonna do it after, but I'm gonna like set up the camera, have it do like a self picture, and we're gonna like act like we're on the podcast. I'm gonna post that, put this video out and like that's gonna be the thing. But like no one took that picture throughout the podcast. That just happened after. So we're painting this picture. Like I think that's what it is, and just building off of that because it's still authentic because we're not faking it.
Exactly.
Because if it's like we just came in here like, hey bro, let's just throw a fucking picture and then throw that online.
We sat in front of mics.
Yeah.
It's like the people that's like sit near a Ferrari. And you're like, oh man, you got a Ferrari? It's like, no, that ain't his Ferrari. He was walking by.
He flexed it.
Yeah.
I know something.
And
like
I think
that.
that's the difference, right? It's different if that was your Ferrari and you posed in front of it, but it was someone else's Ferrari.
Yeah.
So it's not really authentic.
That's not really authentic. Yeah. I think that'd be fun. I think that's probably the best thing to do. And like, I think if people kind of start tuning into that, then that's kind of how we provide this value. I was thinking about it on the way here, kind of like what Blue Wave, like what the like brand actually is. And it's crazy because like, I've always been a fan of like Vans, you know, O'Neill, Hurley, you know, all that skater surfer brand. And like now that we're part of like Blue Wave, I'm like, oh, look at that, like surfer, kind of cool. But there's something about that skater surfer, you know, laid back brand that I was like, okay, well, why do I like Vans? Why do I like O'Neill, Hurley, Volcom, all these brands? It's like, and I asked ChatGPT, and ChatGPT was like, well, think about it, like surfing, skating, like it represents freedom, you know, going against the grain. Like my brother was a skater and he taught me how to skate, and like that's what we did like when I came home after school. And like this idea of just going out, riding these walls, riding this asphalt, and like even though my mom didn't really want me to because it was dangerous, just going against that grain of being free, that's something that I like identified with. So I'm trying to think of like, I wonder if Blue Wave can kind of turn into something like that, where it's like we bring creators together and there's no like set script. It's like you don't have to do it like this. You don't have to market like this. It's like, let's create a palette almost for creators to come in and just like be themselves and just see what comes. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
like,
no, I totally agree with you on that. It's funny you say that because every creator we've talked to, I've had sometimes side conversations. One recently today. We'll talk about. My point to that person was, I am not going to put any reins on you.
Yeah.
Here's what we need an end product in regards to the deliverables.
Sure.
I want you to take, this is creative freedom.
Creative freedom.
I trust you. I've seen what you do.
Right.
Creative freedom.
Yeah.
And because I think when you try to fit somebody into a certain mold, it's never going to look the right way. And I've dealt with this with different creatives. I've tried to fit them into a certain mold, and it hasn't come out the way that my vision was. Yeah. But that's also not anything against them. It was because that's not their style. Yeah. That's not what they do. I just assumed you know how to work a camera. Yeah. You should be able to do this style. That's not the case. Yeah. You know, and I think with creators is once we find, and this is why we want to make this like a open playground for these folks. Yeah, dude. Know? Yeah. Where that they can come and we say, hey, we've got this client. They match up really well with you. We want to see what you can do with them, you know? And I think that's our goal is yes, we're managing them, but it's more just putting them in the right place to be successful. Right. And providing that experience for the client to go, wow, this was awesome working with Mike or Jamie or whoever that is. And again, each project might have 2 or 3 different creators on it. Right.
Yeah, I think it's just like it's fostering this ecosystem for creators. It's like creating this environment for, I mean, this is how the conversation started, right? So it's like creating this environment where it's a little bit different. And I've thought about this since COVID. It's just like the employment field is changing. Like people are realizing they don't have to work 9 to 5. They don't have to work for someone. I'm a big advocate for working with. I'm a big partnership kind of guy. And like learning the art of like photography and videography these past couple of years, like I see how open it is, and you can't give that job to someone who's at the front desk and hope for them for out of the 8 hours to do it. Like that's not how it works. Like it's like fishing. You really have to like pick and choose and use the right, you know, gear to get the right shot and stuff like that. So it's good to finally like hear that like we're on the kind of the same page, because that's what I kind of want that vibe to be like. I want people to see that logo and just feel relaxed. You know what I'm saying? And like it, you know, when we get to the point of like putting it on t-shirts and stuff, like someone to wear that and represent that, and it's just like, it's funny enough. Like hopefully that'd be really cool if we could like work with like Vans and stuff like that. If we can,
I mean, I could see it getting us to that point. Yeah. Because I think just, you know, who we're looking at working with, we're not going to work with everybody. No, it's just how business works. But at the same time is, you know, before we partnered with you, and I think that's something too that people struggle with business, right? They don't want to give up equity. They don't want to do these things. And it's like, well, you're never going to fully succeed if you don't put the right people in the right places. Exactly. You know, and we knew meeting you that you needed to be part of the company, not a subcontractor. It makes no sense. that doesn't mean the next person we meet is going to be part of Blue Wave.
Right.
You know, that's not how that
I feel
works.
like there's an extent to it, right? Because, like, I've thought about this a bunch of times, too, like, with, like, JMC. And, like, I know JMC isn't going to be me for the rest of however long it's supposed to be around, right? Like, I know it's going to turn in. And I had a really good conversation with that mortgage broker, Joe, I was telling you about.
Yeah.
And he said the same thing. He's like, look, I don't own any of my companies fully. Like, I give pieces it away because it gets me my time back, and that's where it's at. I'm like, at first I struggled with that idea because I was like, oh, I want control, I want this and that.
That's
like,
ego.
Yeah.
It's hard to get over that, though, because you want creative control, too.
Yeah. But I think there's an extent, like, I think you can still be in that, like, role of, like, looking over them and being like, hey, like, I would like it this way. Can we get to that? But that's just culture. I feel like at the end of the day, like.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the exact word I would use is culture. And I think that's why there should be trial periods with knowing people.
100%.
You know, it's like you have to figure out if these things come up. And I think that's something I thought about when me and Caleb had the conversation about, you know, partnering with you is how do we see this long term? Do we see like this could work? Do we see that personalities mesh?
Right.
Is everybody open to different people's ideas and not like headstrong about stuff?
Yeah.
And I think it's also understanding what role and responsibility does each person do in any business. And this is where me and Caleb ran into the issue originally is we're very similar people, right? So unfortunately we didn't get a lot done because of that, because we both have our talents, but we do overlap a lot.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing for us because we get along really well. We're very respectful of each other. But that's why we need someone like you, right? And that just kind of goes all encompassing. And I think when people really sit back and look, there's a lot of people that we had talked to that could have been in your position, but they didn't check the right boxes, right? And I think it was very soon after we met you that we're like, okay, this guy's got something.
Must have done something right.
He did. So he did something. And it's like, all right. And a lot of for us is mentality.
Sure.
It's vision. It's mentality. It's like you don't need to know everything.
Right.
You don't need to know anything at this point. It's just, are you willing to put in the work and effort that is going to help succeed? And you know, I'm never going to align myself someone without that. So like in the process of starting a residential and a commercial real estate team, a lot of those discussions are about, it doesn't mean if you're the top producer, that's great, that's awesome, but do we align? Does it make sense? Because if it doesn't, why do this dance?
Yeah.
You know?
I think it's like, if it's not necessarily doing like the same things that you and I would do, it's like, okay, what's the common goal? And if like, if your way of getting to this goal gets us there, then cool, like we're on the same page, like I'm there. But if, as long as the overall goal is like what we can agree on, how we get there, that's kind of like to each their own. And like, I kind of view partnerships like you have like the main goal here, right? If we're trying to get there, it's just like, hey, we're going to touch base, and we do a really good job of doing this. Like we'll touch base different places as long as we're moving and you see that I'm moving, I see that you're moving. Like that's what fosters a good partnership, which is like, if you're doing it, bro, I'm doing it too. I'll see you when we get there. And I feel like we've done that subconsciously and just continuously over the last couple of months, where it's just like, hey, we're going to get to this point, then we're going to get to this point. And then we connect, have these conversations and go. And that's like probably one of my favorite things just about like experiencing life now. It's just realizing those like what I call connection points. So like I've noticed that with like birthdays, holidays, and different things like that, you show up and you're fully present. Like you look around your life and you're like, whoa, like this is where I'm at, this is where I'm going, this is stuff like that. So yeah, man, it's pretty cool. It's pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
Pretty good
well,
stuff.
To
I'm
your
excited.
point about that is it's accountability to each other. And I thought about this the other day is like that's why I always ask you guys when we finish meetings, what do I need to do?
Oh, yeah,
what is my things? Point me in the direction.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it kind of thing. Because I also want to make sure that I understand what's required of me so I can make sure that you guys have the stuff you guys need. And I think in business, if you have partners and you can't do that, there's a problem, right? You have to all go, okay, who's doing what, when are they doing it, when was it all due by?
Right.
And there's an accountability because I never want to fail you guys.
Yeah,
right?
same. Yeah.
It's one, and I think this is why being in business alone is tough because you're holding yourself accountable and it's very easy to go, I'll just do it tomorrow. I'll just do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
where you followed up with me after the meeting. Hey, did you reach out to this person? When are we doing this?
Yeah.
And it's not that I forgot it. I was just busy doing something else.
Right.
Like, I appreciated that though. Like I didn't take it any certain way. I was like, awesome. I was like, yeah, man. I read the text. I'm like, yeah, this is the right person. And because that's something where it's like, okay, well, I'm part of the business. Like, if I'm not doing my part of it, why am I part of this?
Right.
You know, and if people aren't holding me accountable, because it's going to go the other way. It's accountability on all sides. You know, I know we've talked with all of us have talked about this in different aspects.
Yeah.
Hey, did you do this? Where are we at with it? It's not like hey, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
We haven't gotten there yet because someone hasn't like kicked the can too far down the road.
Yeah, and I think like you and Caleb have had this conversation. We're pretty like no bullshit, or like we're
no
not
fluff here.
Yeah, we're not afraid to just be like, yo, like come on, and that's just how I am. And like sometimes it comes off as I don't know what the right word is, just abrasive or just aggressive, but it's not aggressiveness. It's just I respect you enough to hit you this hard because I know that you would do the same for me. Because I never look at myself like above anyone. I'm just like, if I'm bringing this energy, like I hope you bring that energy back. But if you disrespect me, that's different. But there's a point of disrespect versus accountability.
Yes.
And like that hard love, that hard like, dude, we're doing this. Like, I don't know, think about like football terms. It's like if a kicker misses a field goal, you're not gonna blame just the kicker. You're gonna realize why. Like I forgot who said it. Might have been Bryce Young. It might have been someone on the Panthers. But they say, why did it get to that point? How come the offense and the defense didn't do their job? Why put the kicker in that position? Like that's what I'm saying. Like sure, you can yell at the kicker all day and be like, oh, you missed a kick. It's a 25-yard kick. Shout out Andy Pinheiro, motherfucker. But like the point is like why be in that position in the first place? And then like that's where the accountability comes from, where it's like it's not us yelling at each other, it's yelling with each other.
How do we do better? How do we grow, right? But at the same time, as the kicker's the end, stop, right? The stop. And it's, hey, you didn't make it. Now they need to know how to kick the ball and kick. Now if you miss 3 kicks, that's a problem. And our offense is a problem. Plus the guy at the back end is a problem. So there's a multitude of things. And listen, people are going to screw up.
100%.
That's what's going to happen. You're going to misstep. You're going to say the wrong thing.
Yeah.
You're going to put your foot in your mouth. I do that way too often.
Yeah.
You know. But I think to your point, it's accountability. It's okay to screw up. Do you have the right team behind you to help you pick you up and move along?
Right.
And they're not beating you up. Be like, wow, you really suck, Javier. Why'd you do that?
Right. Yeah.
You know?
There's one thing of like, hey, dude, like we see that you messed up. I get you. That sucks. Whatever. Like you could have done this a little bit better. Have you looked at it from this? And it's like, it's the how versus why argument. It's like instead of saying, oh, how did you do that? It's like, why are you doing that? Like, why is a little bit more aggressive? It's like, oh, so how did you get to this point? I'm curious. You know, it's like. That's it. Like, how did you come to that conclusion? Because I genuinely want to understand how. Because like, if I can help you, then I will. But I'm not gonna like say and question your decisions because you probably have a good reason, and it could be as simple as that. Oh well, I thought this was right, and then you genuinely thought it was right, and it just ended up not working out. It is what it is. Let's just move from here, not dying on that hill. It's like my biggest thing.
I think the other question to your point about how can I help you to get this done better, or more efficient, or is there something that I could do that would help you?
Yeah, exactly. You know?
And then I think that's where you find out with people. It's like, oh wow, Javier wasn't the problem. I was the problem. You know, it's like I should have been better at this aspect.
But that takes like a lot of self-awareness, though. And I think that's a very like not macro, but just very introversive. Like that's the type of person that comes in. Like not a lot of people are gonna have that kind of self-accountability
because they can't face themselves in the mirror.
Yeah.
So this is what I tell people too: is if you're upset with life, can you look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself you're the problem? And what I mean by that is you're not you personally, but if you're over 18, everything's your fault.
That's what I say.
Like your parents, you grew up however you grew up. We all grew up in different ways. Right. Trust me, if we went through my story, you'd be like, wait, what? How did you end up here? But I think that's the other problem is people want to blame other people for their own problems.
Yeah.
And if you can't take accountability for yourself, how are you going to hold somebody else accountable?
That's what I'm saying.
You know?
I saw Gary Vee talk about this a lot. He was like, if you're in a leadership position, like you have to take the fault because who else is going to do it? Like if they get to that point, like it's my fault. And that's kind of the mentality that I've kind of brought into the business and just my life in general is that if something happens, where did I fall short? And if I fall short, can I show up to myself and be like, hey man, like, yeah, you did kind of screw up. Or can I be like, hey, like we screwed up, but there's these other circumstances, not putting the blame on the circumstances, just saying that these were factors too. And just realizing like, just not being oblivious to like what the environment is, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And again, this is how the conversation starts. Like it's all about environment and how like, you know, it factors into a lot of stuff.
Well, culture, like you said, and I love that you said that because I don't think a lot of people understand that with leadership. Leadership is not about telling people what to do.
Right. Yeah.
At all.
No.
That's nothing of it. And if that's the way you think of it, you want to be someone's boss, and you're in it for the complete wrong reasons. You know, the reason you go into leadership is to make people better and make the team better. Because I said this to my friend last night. It's not about you.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
if you
that's the biggest
think being
thing.
a leader is about you, you've thought about it the wrong
Yeah,
way. It's
yeah.
about the team. It's about how do we be successful together.
Mhm.
So this is the way I always looked at it when I was a director at my old job was if someone screwed up, it was my fault.
Yep.
If someone did well, then that was them.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, it's never you.
It was never me, no.
Unless it goes bad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And people would be like, well, no, well, they screwed up. And I used to work in insurance. So it was like they wrote a bad account. It's like, yep, that's my fault. Why is that your fault? Because I didn't apparently ask them the right questions or have the right trainings for them or teach them that maybe, we missed something. That's on me.
Yeah, because you're passing that knowledge. Like even if lead by example. That's always the biggest thing my dad told me. He's like, if someone's watching you, like
someone's always watching you.
Someone, especially in the leadership role. It's like, oh well, if they showed up late, then I can show up late. That's why I was at my old job. I saw the bosses come in late. I was like, okay, I guess I can come in 15, 20 minutes after and stuff like that.
Made it acceptable.
Exactly. Yeah. So I agree with that. I think like. Yeah, you have your instances and stuff like that where people go off the rails and it's just like, oh, okay, that's definitely you. But like in a common general sense, it's like, okay, I messed up. And then if they supersede those expectations, that's all them. Because you give them the fundamentals, it's the gun and the bullet analogy that we always have, right? Give them the right bullets, they have the right gun, it's going to shoot. It's going to shoot very well.
Yep.
So, cool. All right, bro. Well, listen, don't want to take up too much of your afternoon. But we'll definitely run it back. Definitely gonna be a recurring.
No, this
guest
was great.
On this show.
I hope so. We're in our studio.
I mean,
so.
yeah. This is the new studio, everybody. Well, sort of.
So, yeah, we're working on it. It's getting there.
It's coming together.
Yeah, we've got the equipment. We just maybe make it a little bit.
I think if we I thought about this, like bringing the table like in the middle.
I think we need to get new tables.
I would agree.
These were free, so all this was free.
You gotta work with what we got. Right?
Yeah, we're getting there.
Word.
Eventually, people are like, "Wow, this is awesome
legit.
setup." And
it's close enough, like the lights.
It's better than 90% of people's podcast setups.
Yeah, it's better than my my kitchen setup with the white wall.
Leveling up, little.
Hey man, that's how we do it. All right, bro. Well, we'll hop up here again soon.